What's up, guys? Welcome to another mock draft Thursday. We're going to take some inspiration from the NBA and what they've been cooking for the last week with all the trades. And like I did a couple weeks ago when I did a chaos edition, it's going to be kind of like that. We're going to try to make some trades. We're going to just make a chaotic version of the draft because once again, we are still a very long time away from the draft and we might as well have some fun with it. The first overall pick, however, I do think it's going to be Cam Ward. I genuinely think that he has the potential to be a very, very good quarterback. And I think it's someone that the Tennessee Titans can build around and kind of already have a good infrastructure for him to get into. They got Calvin Ridley. They got a couple other good pieces at receiver and running back. They have decent tight ends with Chigo Okonkwo. The offensive line has some really good young players on it with Skaronski and the guy that they drafted last year, JC Latham. So I think that they can genuinely have a very good offense with Cam Ward. The appeal of Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is extremely high, but I think that, like I said, Cam Ward could be a great fit in Tennessee. Starting off with our trades, I have the Browns trading back with the Jags. Once again, like the last couple of times, I will just be forcing trades through just to not have to negotiate with a random GM. But I think maybe the Jags, they were aggressive in getting Liam Cohen. They finally fired Trent Baalke. Shad Khan has seemed to turn over a new leaf. Maybe they get really aggressive with it and they go get Travis Hunter. I think that it is a very big need for them. I don't think that they'll trade up. I don't think that the five and a third will be what it takes to move up three spots for a guy like Travis Hunter. Probably going to take a lot more than that. So this is probably a very unrealistic trade. But like I said, we're going to have fun today. And Travis Hunter would be a great fit in Jacksonville. He could also play receiver and be a gadget guy on offense with all the other weapons that you have. And Liam Cohen's brain could cook with that because Liam Cohen is a very creative offensive play caller. At three for the Giants, I have another trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. Once again, this is something that if it happened in real life, there's a chance that John Mara fires everybody. But I have the Giants trading back three spots and the Raiders taking Shador Sanders. Once again, it makes a lot of sense given that Tom Brady is very close with Shador Sanders. Tom Brady is heavily involved in everything that the Raiders are doing now. And I think with a guy like Pete Carroll coming in, he's old. He wants to win now. And I think Shador Sanders, with the weapons that you already have, the guys that you have on defense, and who you can add on offense potentially, I think the possibilities are legitimately endless. And I'd be really, really, really excited to see what he does on the Raiders. At four for the Patriots, I think it's a pretty easy choice for them. Tedoroa McMillan. I think he is a phenomenal player. There are some concerns about his separation, which are warranted, but I still think he's the best receiver in this draft class. I still think that he is the number one difference maker at receiver in this draft class. He might be the best offensive player in this draft class, in my opinion, besides Ashton Gianti, of course. I think he's really, really good. I think that the struggles that Arizona had were not on him or Noah Fifita, the quarterback. But I think he would be a phenomenal fit alongside Demario Douglas, Drake May, Kendrick Byrne is still there. They have a couple other young receivers. I think he would be a very, very good fit. At five for the Browns, we all know what the biggest storyline in the NFL has been this week is Miles Carter asked for a trade. Abdul Carter would either be a perfect fit alongside Miles Carter or he would be a perfect replacement for Miles Garrett. Sorry, I said Miles Carter a second ago. But Abdul Carter would slide right in and be a perfect replacement for Miles Garrett if that trade is to happen. I still don't think it'll happen. I don't think that the Browns want to move on from Miles Garrett. I think that they believe that they can still contend. They've shown that they can contend with just competent quarterback play in the past with Joe Flacco. So I don't think Miles Garrett goes anywhere. I think he gets a fat deal and stays, but we'll see. And either way, I think Abdul Carter would be a perfect fit on that team. For the Giants at number six after trading back, I think the easiest pick is Will Campbell, tackle from LSU. They have a desperate need on offensive line still, in spite of their investments. Andrew Thomas perennially gets hurt. You got a guy like Jermaine Illuminor now that can play tackle or guard, which is phenomenal versatility, and he's a very good lineman, very underrated in my opinion. So Will Campbell can play right tackle, let Illuminor slide to guard. You got JMS at center, John Runyon at left guard, and Andrew Thomas at left tackle. And if Andrew Thomas gets hurt, which he seems to do every single year, even though he's phenomenal, Jermaine Illuminor can go play left tackle, or you switch Will Campbell to left tackle. He has only played left tackle in college football, so there could be some issues with that. However, he is the best overall offensive lineman, and the Giants have a massive need along the offensive line yet again, as they seem to have for the last decade. At 7 for the Jets, I think all of this craziness ends up working very well for them. They get Mason Graham, defensive lineman, Michigan. I have mocked him to the Jets a couple of times in the past as well, but I just think he's the perfect player for that team. I think he fits in what Aaron Glenn wants to build on that defense, and I think he would be a great, great fit alongside Quinnen Williams and the rest of the dogs that they have on the defensive side of the football. At 8, I have another trade with the Indianapolis Colts. Once again, I do not think this compensation is what it actually will be if a trade like this happens in real life. But I have them trading up to get Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren is a guy that might sneak into the top 10. I think with how he played against Notre Dame and how he played in the college football playoff, how he was basically the entire Penn State offense, I think he swayed a lot of people, and all of his interviews, everything like that, seemed to be going very well. I think he's a very, very good player. Obviously, I think he has the potential to be a Brock Bowers type guy, maybe a little less like just athletic than Brock Bowers, better blocker for sure. But I think Tyler Warren would be phenomenal in the NFL, and I think it's a piece that the Colts desperately need. You just need a reliable guy for Anthony Richardson if he's your guy, or whoever the veteran quarterback you bring in if he starts. Like Michael Pittman's a great receiver. Alec Pierce is pretty good. The guy that they drafted last year, Josh Downs, I think 2 years ago, my bad. But he's also good, but like none of them are like supremely reliable. They all deal with injury. Alec Pierce has had one good season, same with Josh Downs. And they struggled with Anthony Richardson. Same thing with Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell is a phenomenal athlete, but he struggled with Anthony Richardson. So Tyler Warren gives you your safety blanket. At 9 for the Saints, I have another trade. This is just a mini one, but I have the San Francisco 49ers trading up one spot, or two spots rather, just to jump the Chicago Bears for Kelvin Banks Jr. This is a guy that can play tackle or guard, both of which that are needs for the San Francisco 49ers. He can play guard his rookie year while Trent Williams is still there. Whenever Trent Williams retires, he can kick out to left tackle. He is a very good lineman, very versatile. And the San Francisco 49ers have a extremely awful offensive line. And I thoroughly believe that Kelvin Banks is step one to fixing that, because you don't have good players on that line outside of Trent Williams. I have a couple of decent young guys. Colton McKivitz just got a second contract, but when you can't name a single offensive lineman on their team outside of Trent Williams, and they have a roster that's expected to be a contender in the NFC every year, that's a problem. They're not going to pick this high probably for a while again, unless injuries hit them like they did last year. Got to take advantage of it and get a difference maker at the line position. At 10 for the Bears, they get jumped for a lineman, but their other massive need is edge, and I have them taking Jalen Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Once again, no clue why he's ranked so low on PFF's big board, but just a extremely versatile do-it-all guy. You got Dennis Allen coming in. The Saints' usage of linebackers is bad in the past. Under Dennis Allen, like we saw what happened with Zach Bond. He got out of that system, started playing like a traditional linebacker role, and was a first-team All-Pro. But I think Jalen Walker is your edge rusher opposite Montez Sweat, a guy that you can use to spy some of the quarterbacks in division, even with, JJ McCarthy's a pretty mobile quarterback, and some of Jordan Love can run around if he needs to. So Jalen Walker would be a very intriguing piece for them to add. At 11 for the Saints, after, like I said, a mini trade back, I have them also taking a Georgia defender with Michael Williams, the other edge rusher from Georgia, that is expected to go in the first round of the draft. Once again, this is a need for this team. I really think that they should try to move on from Cam Jordan's contract this year. I think they should embrace a rebuild finally. Michael Williams gives you a very, very good piece on that defense. At 12 for the Dallas Cowboys, Ashton Giante is I thoroughly considered Ashton Giante. I just think that Luther Burden fits a bigger need. I think Luther Burden as your wide receiver two opposite CeeDee Lamb is a very, very, very dangerous and good wide receiver duo. They're both young. CeeDee Lamb is on his second deal, but you got Luther Burden to add with him. You still got a couple intriguing prospects in Kawante Turpin and other guys. So I think that would be a great fit. At 13 for the Dolphins, I have another trade back with the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings, yes, they don't have a lot of assets, but I think they're going to continue to be aggressive to build this team around JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, whatever they decide to do. It probably will be JJ McCarthy, just given that he's younger and they don't have to pay him $35 million a year. But I have them trading up to get Ashton Gianti. Aaron Jones is a great running back, but he's old, and I think it showed that they didn't have a reliable rushing attack in the last 2 games. You get Ashton Gianti, you have a pretty good offensive line when Christian Darrisaw comes back. You already have two phenomenal receivers. Jalen Naylor proved to be a very good wide receiver 3. TJ Hawkinson is a great tight end when healthy. You are literally surrounding JJ McCarthy with as much offensive talent as possible, and that defense is still cooking because you're going to keep Brian Flores and you're going to keep most of your big pieces on defense. So I think Ashton Gianti would be the perfect person to just fully complete the Vikings offense for next season. At 14 for the Panthers, after the trade back, I have them taking Will Johnson, corner from Michigan. Little fall for him in this mock draft. I think there's been some concerns with injury and just tackling and some other little things, and which might cause him to fall come draft day. But I think he would be a perfect fit for what the Panthers are building down in Carolina. At 15 for the Falcons, I have them taking Mike Green, edge rusher from Marshall. He had a very, very good Senior Bowl. He had to answer some questions about why he had to leave Virginia and stuff like that. And teams were happy with his interviews, which is a huge sign. He has the production to be a first round pick, to be a top 20 guy. He cleared some of the off the field issues around him. I think he would be a great player for the Falcons to add. At 16 for the Cardinals, I have them taking an edge rusher, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Not as much sack production as he would have liked last season, only 4.5 sacks. But once again, a guy that would be a perfect complement to what they're building on that defensive line down in Arizona. Jonathan Gannon had the defense with the most sacks in NFL history with the Eagles 2 years ago, and just keep getting him edge rusher so he can cook on defense. At 17 for the Bengals, I have them taking wide receiver. Obviously, T. Higgins probably going to leave, even though Joe Burrow today said that he's okay taking a pay cut to let the Bengals be able to sign his star players. But Matthew Golden would be a perfect fit. Jermaine Burton, third round pick last season. There's a lot of smoke off the field. There's a lot of stuff going on that the team isn't happy with. So, we don't know how he's going to pan out. Andre Yoshavas, Princeton legend, you know, he's a good receiver, but Matthew Golden absolutely cooked every defense he played in the college football playoff and at Texas this year. You pair him with Joe Burrow, you're going to have Jamar Chase. You have a good offensive coordinator. I think that would be a great fit for the Bengals offense. At 18 for the Seattle Seahawks, I have another trade. I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Funnily enough, they're right here trading up, once again being aggressive. Now, this is a team that's not generally traded up during the Mahomes era. They're more so, I think they've traded back. Obviously, the biggest move that they made involving the draft was trading Tyreek Hill. But actually, they traded up last year. What the fuck am I yapping about? I had them trading up for Josh Simmons. Now, Josh Simmons got hurt against Oregon. He did not play a lot, but if he had not gotten hurt and played a full season, he would have been the number one offensive lineman off the board. And guys like Matt Miller and other people have him going in the 20s just because of the injury. I think the Chiefs gamble on it. They desperately need offensive line help. And they have shown in the past that they're okay with drafting guys with health concerns if their medical teams are okay with it. Trey Smith fell to the 5th round because of health concerns, and the Chiefs took a risk on him. They trusted their medical staff, and they played out wonderfully for them. And now he's one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. I think Josh Simmons, maybe a similar story with a lot more talent coming in. I think he would be a perfect fit for Kansas City, and they would be very aggressive in trying to get offensive line help this offseason. At 19 for the Bucks, I have them taking Jahdae Barron, corner from Texas. This is a guy, according to Matt Miller, once again, I think one of the most trusted voices when it comes to draft, anything involving the draft, NFL Draft Scout. You can check out his Substack. He's also on ESPN. But this is a guy that could be a versatile Brian Branch type player, and I don't think the NFL is gonna let another one of those guys fall into the 2nd round like what happened with Brian Branch 2 years ago. I think Jahdae Barron would be a perfect complement to everything else on that Bucks defense. And even though I think Todd Bowles should have been gone and they should have hired Liam Cohen to be head coach and not lost him to Jacksonville as it played out, but I think Jahdae Barron would be a perfect fit on that defense. At 20 for the Broncos, I have them taking Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Once again, if it's a massive need, you got to surround Bo Nix with as much talent as possible. They made it to the playoffs. They obviously lost in round one against Buffalo, but no one thought that they'd make it to the playoffs. And it was because of Bo Nix and because of that offense. That defense was phenomenal. You can add to it. They will add to it. But Colston Loveland would be a perfect complement to everything else on that offense. It would also give Bo Nix that safety blanket, like we talked about with Anthony Richardson and Tyler Warren. And on top of that, tight ends are always successful in the Sean Payton offense. And Colston Loveland would be no exception, in my opinion. At 21 for the Steelers, I have them trading back with the Houston Texans. Where are they? Once again, the Texans moving up 4 spots to draft Armand Membao. We saw the beating that CJ Stroud took all season. We saw what the Chiefs did to them in the divisional round. They need offensive line help, and Armand Membao is a guy that, yes, he played tackle at Missouri. He profiles more as an interior lineman in the NFL and would provide immediate help for the Houston offense. At 22 for the Chargers, I have them taking Emeka Egbuka. Now, maybe Harbaugh has extreme reservations taking an Ohio State guy, but Emeka Egbuka would be a perfect complement to what you think Quentin Johnston can be. Maybe they are the team that goes and gets T. Higgins in free agency. Maybe the rumors around DK Metcalf have some credence to them. But Lad Milwaukee, Emeka Egbuka, you know, and just build around that. But those are two really good young receivers. And if you really think that Quentin Johnston can develop and get past the drop issues this offseason, he had a much better season his second year than his rookie year, although it wasn't hard to improve about that because his rookie year was so bad. But Emeka Egbuka would be a perfect fit on that Chargers offense. At 23 for the Packers, I have them taking James Pierce Jr. This is another sorry. This is another team that desperately needs edge help. We saw what happened to them in the Eagles game. Jalen Hurts had all day to throw. Now, some of that is because the Eagles line is so good, but Packers rush was very lackluster for most of the season, and James Pierce Jr. just gives them more added boost, and they have easily drafted defense more than offense under this era. At 24 for the Dolphins, after trading back with the Vikings, I have them taking Walter Nolan from Mississippi. Yes, they need offensive line. Yes, they could use some help. Maybe they lose Javon Holland in free agency. He is a free agent and he is their best player on defense, maybe. But I think Walter Nolan is just too good of a guy to pass up on. So much so much power from the defensive line position that they could desperately use. They have some good edge rushers who are perennially hurt, but they're still good. And I think he would just be a perfect complement to them. At 25 for the Steelers, after trading back, I've been taking Malachi Starks. Once again, a guy that I think PFF has ranked higher than he should be. I don't think he's going to go that high, but would be a perfect complement to Minkah Fitzpatrick. Joey Porter Jr. could fit in as a nickel guy and just another versatile piece for them to have on defense. At 26 for the Rams, I've been taking Josh Connerly Jr., the tackle from Oregon, another team that needs offensive line help in a really big way. Rob Havenstein isn't getting any younger, and I think Josh Connerly would be the perfect replacement for that. At 27 for the Ravens, I've been taking Nick Skirden from Texas A&M. Like Shamar Stewart, not like the greatest sack production last season, but a really good player, and in my mind, it's a typical Ravens pick. At 28, I have another trade, our last trade of the day, with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. The Eagles trading up to jump the Washington Commanders, like they did with my Giants a couple years ago to get Devontae Smith. And I had them moving up to get Trey Amos, cornerback from Mississippi. You know, Darius Slay is going to retire most likely after the season. James Bradbury has barely played. I don't think he's not going to be on the team. Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell are great, but I think you could use another corner in a really bad way to just complete this entire defense. I don't think edge is as huge of a need as people think it is. Maybe they keep Joshua, maybe they trade for Myles Garrett, who knows? But I think Trey Amos is a huge need for them, in my opinion. At 29 for the Commanders, they miss out on They missed out on a corner. I think they would go corner. However, I have them going Donovan. I'm gonna try my best here. Donovan as a Ruaku from Boston College, the edge rusher. You know, you traded Montez Sweat, you traded Chase Young, you have Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, but they're also very iffy in production. They didn't have the best seasons last season, but I think he gives you that little boost on edge. His sack production was insane at Boston College. I know it's Boston College, but they still play some pretty good teams. His sack production was insane. So I think he would be a perfect fit for Dan Quinn. At 30 for Buffalo, I have them taking Jahad Campbell, the linebacker from Alabama. Matt Milano is perennially hurt. Terrell Bernard is also someone that struggles a lot with injury. And I think Jahad Campbell gives you a 3 down linebacker that you can have as a plug and play option right away. At 31, after trading back, I still have the line taking Jack Sawyer, edge rusher Ohio State, pairing him with Aiden Hutchinson, I with Aleem McNeil in the middle, I think is a perfect defensive line, and once again something that they desperately, desperately, desperately need. And at 32 for the Seahawks, I have had them take a quarterback consistently through my mock drafts. Usually it's Jalen Milrow, but Jackson Dart had a really good Senior Bowl. Jackson Dart has a phenomenal arm. The Seahawks went and got a big arm guy in Sam Howell to be the backup to hopefully develop. They still have Geno Smith for one more season. I think you let Jackson Dart sit behind Geno for a year, and then Jackson Dart is your starting quarterback with DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, Noah Fant, and the rest of the weapons that you have. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.